All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, good governance has 8 major characteristics. It is participatory, consensus-oriented, accountable, transparent, responsive, effective, and efficient, equitable and inclusive, and follows the rule of law. It assures that corruption is minimized and the views of minorities are taken into account, and that the voices of the most vulnerable in the society are heard in decision making. It is also responsive to the present and future needs of society. And bad governance, on the other hand, is being increasingly regarded as one of the root causes of all evil within our society. Politics, right? Is the activity associated with the governance of a country or area, especially the debate between parties having power. So as young people, we are often carried away with political theatrics by various political parties, and we forget to maintain focus on what is most important, which is governance. So how can we be deliberate about what is important, that is governance, as that's what we need in when all the political play, right, is over. Right now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. All right. So yesterday, was it yesterday? Now I was watching the APC convention. Or when was it? Was it yesterday? Or oh, it was Saturday. So all of a sudden, some group called something for love and peace or something came together, and they were playing. What did I just sound British? And they were talking about, and they started singing Timi Dakolo's song, that really great song that I love. And it just brought to my mind the backlash that Timi Dakolo had last week when they said he went to perform at an Atiku rally or something. And, you know, they played that song. When they played that song, I just, had to tweet something, and I said, what exactly is the problem, right? This song has a strong message. Regardless of whether it is whatever, if I were Timi Dakolo, anywhere I'm called upon, I would go sing that song, because the song is deeper than all our political drama, and we should stop being carried away. So, and
at the end of the day, everywhere, all Nigerians.
Do you understand? And so the focus should not always be, and I see this play out all the time, especially with young people. Somebody has accused me that I hope I know I'm not a youth. So I just realized I went to check the definition. I'm not a youth. I'm not a youth.
Elsie, I think you're a youth.
Elsie is not a youth. Youth stops at 30.
Oh, really?
Do you know the age
what
of
I saw?
The chairman of youth in all your political parties?
Now the thing where we talk, we are coming 60s. There. So bottom line is quickly, because I want to bring in our guest, is why do we always get carried away all the time when issues are, so I mean, one small thing, they just throw it. Instead of us to focus on what is important, we're focusing on all this political drama. What exactly is our problem?
Let me speak the English I wanted to speak. Let me pedal it back a bit.
Elsie, you need one of those things that Will Smith is giving out.
Let's pedal it back a bit, right? So on this table, I've always been a fan of let's focus on governance, and I'm not a politician. I don't think I want to be a politician, and which is why this thing that Kemi Odosho is doing is stressing me, because I think that's the closest path for me in terms of, okay, you can fulfill this role, come and do it and get the job done and go back to your
appointment.
But I think that there is a lot more that can be done if we focus on governance than politics, especially because of the terrain right now when it comes to politics. I mean, we saw what happened at the rally. A lot of young people started mocking each other, especially when, remember after the NSAS and the conversation was, if you trust the party, and that's how you can get the change. And it was clear that even if you infiltrate the party, you still have like 15 to 20 years to rigmarole with them and mix with them, and before you know it,
your time is up.
You are probably part of them, because you cannot be with these people for 15 years and you also want to be part of them, and you will start behaving like them, So that conversation came up. But for me, I've always been team governance, team holding people accountable. I think I will make more effort to understand our laws and policies and how it affects us, and also see how I can use those laws to hold people in power accountable for what they do, rather than me really trying to be part of these people. That's where I stand, and that's where I've always stood, which is why I said I'm peddling it back. But
Peddling it forward, please. Manny, what's your thoughts on this topic?
Well, I think governance has to just do with the way systems and processes and how we control things. So I think we should focus on governance rather than politics, because the whole politics makes it very dirty and makes it seem like what we're looking for is unachievable. So if we just focus on governance, good governance, then I think we will be closer, a step closer to what we're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let me bring in Ibiang Livinus. Is currently a public health and biosafety expert and a professional in politics with over 19 years experience in the social sector. He has led several students as youth movement and has been involved in human rights advocacy. He was a former FCT interim chairman of the Alliance for New Nigeria Party before his ascension to the office of the national vice chairman of the party for South-South Zone. He was also a member of the National Campaign Council of the party and served as the South-South Zonal Director and Chairman of the National Campaign. Ibiang is a graduate of University of Calabar and holds a Master's in Business Administration from the Ahmadu Bello University and currently a PhD candidate in International Public Health. He is married and blessed with 3 lovely children, and he has joined us live from Abuja. Thank you so much, Livinus. Oh, sure.
The team, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Livinus. So let me just, jump into this conversation because this is very interesting. First of all, they've accused all of us here. I used to think I was a youth until today. I saw the light that I am now the Arugbo. How do they call the old people? I'm part of the older generation, right? But I just want to say that a quick question: is it possible to truly set aside politics when we are looking for good governance? Can we separate those two?
Thank you once again and for having me. Just to say that the subject of politics and governance are more like a twin subject. So we cannot really take out one for another. Both of them have to, go together. But then we must understand where we need to set aside politics and focus on governance. And I think drawing that theme for this discussion is very apt. I cannot agree more with the way you have set the topic for discussion. But let me also lay some very critical fundamentals that will help us in this discussion. One, I dare to say that democracy has deteriorated, and not just in Nigeria, but globally. And this is reflected in the erosion of electoral, processes, political participation, democratic political cultures, and even civil liberties. Because if you look at the political space, as it were, there is a constriction of the political space in terms of inclusion, in terms of, participation, and especially youth participation. So that constriction is not really helping democracy and good governance to thrive, because some of those principles you enumerated earlier are very critical. And for you to have those principles come to play, you must have the political space widened and opened up for people to participate and advocate for good governance. So this is very, very important. So like I said earlier, you cannot really separate politics and good governance. They go together. But understanding when you need to set aside one to focus on good governance is what is most paramount, and which we need to really push forward.
Okay.
You have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is
So
straight
there is.
from what you just said.
Go ahead.
So when exactly do we need to set aside politics to focus on governance? Since you have established that we would need to do that at some point. So when do we need to start doing that, and how do we go about it?
All right, thank you very much. Again, you will agree with me, this is a political season. Mm-hmm. The parties are beginning to have their conventions, congresses, and of course, in no distant time, we'll be having the primaries conducted in accordance with the guidelines set by INEC. And this is very important. This is purely politics, and everybody has to be on board. This is no time to say, oh, I'm not interested in politics. And Elsie, I must say that, you see, politics, for me, is not a dirty game. It is the individuals. You can play this politics in a very decent manner without necessarily doing the kinds of things that we're seeing. And this is where some of us actually stand. This is why we have opted to come into politics, because we think that we can actually play politics differently from the way the practitioners, the current practitioners, have played politics. I believe in this strongly. We cannot stay away from politics, because, come to think about this, the political leadership of this country emerged through a process, and that is the political party. So if we are not involved even at the party level, which I consider most critical, it therefore means that we will have all manner of persons thrown or imposed on us, and we would not have any option in terms of good quality of candidates. That is why we cannot stay away from politics. We must get into politics. We must invest in politics. We must invest in the political process, because it has to be an inclusive process where everybody is involved and is contributing his or her own quota to making the process credible, so that at the end of the day we can have, the best of aspirants or candidates coming out for the different political positions in this country.
Livinus, I just wanted to take you back just a little, because you had mentioned that these things must work hand in hand, politics and governance, right? So while I agree completely with you, how are we able to separate the political play? Because there is politics and there is political drama, there's political play where there's so much agendas flying left, right, and center that all the time I see us always carried away by those political agendas, and we forget that there's a politics to be played and there's governance at the end of the day to be achieved, right? So how are we able to separate those three? Because there's political play, we cannot shy away from that.
Very excellent question. And again, for me, when these processes that have started today culminate into the election of a new government, the moment that government is inaugurated, that is the time to separate politics and focus on governance. I'll give you an example. The latest governor in Nigeria, His Excellency Professor Chukwumacha Soludo, one emphasis he kept making in the course of that event is the need for him to resume at the office immediately, because there is no time to waste. He recognized that he has only 4 years to spend in office, and that time begins right there at the inauguration venue. So this is clearly someone who understands that politics is over. It is time for governance. It is time to focus on harnessing the vast resources of people, materials, and money that is available to him to build his state. So when you have a new government inaugurated in office, it is time to focus on delivering good governance to the people. So that, to me, is the critical point where we need to separate politics from governance and focus on delivering on the promises that have been made to the people or to the masses of the people.
All right. So we'll just go on a very short break. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue this conversation. I believe Manny has a question. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, so if you just tuned in, we are discussing Nigerian news, setting politics aside, and focusing on good governance. And we have Livinus Ibiang with us. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. You can also tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow. All right, so Manny had a question.
Okay, so Livinus, multi-level Governance is a term that is used to describe the way that governance is spread across many levels of government. So how do we choose the best model of governance to use?
So, for now, we have a ground one, which is our constitution, and our constitution already prescribes the procedures, the structures by which we can actually elect our representatives, whether at the local government, at the state, and at the federal level. So we cannot deviate from that. The only deviation could come if there is an amendment to that particular process. So for now, what we have is the democratic process of selecting our leaders in the country. And that's what we have been following.
Yes, Elsie, you had a question.
Yes. So I'll take you back a bit to some of the things you've said. And I mean, I definitely agree that politics and governance, you cannot separate them at some point because they are important. I as a person has chosen what I want to focus on because like everybody likes to call mental health, right? And then you also said something about promises, right? And that when we now elect these people into office, that is when governance begins because they need to now be able to be held accountable for those promises. But in the middle is where I want us to go back to, which is where politics and governance come together and where we have those promises. And I feel like if a lot of us, citizens of Nigeria, are not properly educated and understand what we even want for ourselves as a people, then that middle ground will not work in a way that will even ensure that you have promises that can be fulfilled. Take, for example, if a governor comes to you to say, elect me, I'm going to ensure that you have power, right? We do not ask questions as to how exactly are you going to ensure that there is power? What are the plans you have on ground? What have you noticed? How are you going to do this? Oh, your naira was it what? 199 naira then, right? To dollar. When we come, it's going to reduce. And they come into power and now we are doing what? 500 plus, right? Because we're not asking questions, we just hear these things and we're excited. That's for those who are even interested. And for the larger majority, this is just a time for them to make money and then go back for the next 4 years again. So how do we even begin to really, for that space that has politics and governance together, how do we ask the right questions? Because that is where they come together. How do we pick out the right candidates, like you have said? Because I don't think it ends at political primaries and infiltrating parties and being part of it. For those who are interested, all well and good. But if you come out to say you're going to be the president, the governor, the whatever, what kind of questions, how do we scrutinize them? What should we begin to look out for to now ensure that there's even anything like governance and that we are not deceiving ourselves at the end of the day?
Very interesting one. So let me start this way. Our political environment is defined by structures talking about the institutions. We have the policies, we have the laws, we have the people, we have the civil society organizations, and so many other platforms in Nigeria. And all of these institutions, the policies, the laws, must work together to ensure that we have accountability, we have transparency in all of the process and so on. But more importantly, and which is something that has been neglected over time, is the issue of political education. That's been lacking. The big question is, do people really understand their rights? Do people really understand what their needs are? It does seem like most people are more interested in seeing a transition from one government to another, but do not really understand that there is a whole lot that is tied to the transition from one democratic governance to another. And that is talking about the needs of the people. Governance is about meeting the needs of the people. Governance is an approach that ensures that the institutions, the structures, the policies are situated in a way that they are able to deliver on the needs of the people. So this is very important. So one is education. Political education is very important in every democratic dispensation. One of the things that makes the difference between the Nigerian society and societies like US and others is the fact that you have citizens who are politically conscious and aware, as opposed to ours. Some scholars have made the point that the millennials, the young people, today don't seem, are a bit disillusioned about politics as compared to people of their age 10, 20 years ago. And somehow it looks even something, it looks very agreeable that that's actually the case. Because most of what we see around, for those ones who were born in the period of 1980s to this time, all they've seen and all they keep seeing is the set of leaders that we have in the country today, and who have, held this country at the juggler and have not been able to make meaningful progress in terms of growth and development of the Nigerian society. So at the end of the day, it goes to say that the quality of the kind of leaders that you have is a product of the followership that you have in the society. So for me, we must begin a process of political education to educate the people, to understand what their needs are, to understand their rights in the Constitution, so that they can demand for what is the basic need. In fact, it is laughable to see government fix a roof and they come on TV to announce that
they've done something
That's a
big.
giving. Yeah, that is a giving. We shouldn't be talking about that.
Yeah.
We should move beyond some of these basic infrastructure, water, light. And those are the big issues that we talk about today. Okay. So people need to really understand this, and it takes political education to get people from that.
When you ask them why they put their name and make that noise, they'll tell you, how people know that I did it.
I did the work. But Livinus, I was going to ask you a question.
Who is supposed to do it?
I was going to ask a question around politics, because again, this is where the confusion is when it comes to, setting the right path and laying the right foundation. We always miss it at that point of the political play, right? So I want to hear your take on consensus candidacy, because I remember there was some drama that happened. Somebody came out, was crying and saying that he's not going to step down and all of that because he's worked so hard in that party. So somebody cannot come in after 3 months and they just hand over and they say he should step down. I want to hear your take on consensus. Then I was going to ask again, how do we play the politics right? Since we know now that we cannot separate politics from governance, right? So how do we begin to play it right? So we understand part of what you talked about, educating us, so we will know what to do and how to play it right.
This is really very interesting, and I can understand when you talk about someone who came up on stage and was crying because he was asked to step down. It could be that thing. Imagine starting a journey maybe 2 years back, going from one region to the other, consulting and soliciting the support of, people for a particular position, only for you to get to convention and venue and you are asked to step down because someone is the preferred candidate of a superpower in your state. It can be very frustrating. And this is the reason why people, tend to back out of some political parties. But this is the point. If the laws of the land favor consensus, then you have to work with that. It's just pretty simple. And the laws actually favor consensus. But the approach to having consensus candidate is actually the problem. I'll give you an example. Let's use the case of APC that have just concluded elections. And not many people may come out to say this. And this is not peculiar to APC anyway, even across other political parties. They've done the same in time past. So you have a consensus candidate who was more or less picked by the elite group within the party. Now the question is, there were people who, party faithfuls, delegates who are supposed to vote for, the candidates, the various individuals contesting for different positions in the party. In all honesty, they were disenfranchised to the extent that they were not part of determining who should emerge. They were disenfranchised at that point. So, and that's where the problem is. Some persons sat down, did their own calculation, and agreed on who they want to present as a consensus candidate, and they foisted those persons over the other members of the party. And the people had no choice than to take what was presented to them. That's my problem. Now, even if you must have a consensus candidate, we must first of all sit down as a party to say, this is how we are going to elect a consensus candidate. And that process must be inclusive. That's the real essence of democracy. That's what makes it very sweet. Again, this is the politics of, a political party. You can't really take that away. And I'll tell you another point. Even when you have elections concluded and you have a new government in place, politics still continue. For instance, the whole process of lobbying in support of a particular policy, is politicking. So that's why I said you can't take away politics from governance. Because there is no policy you can put out there by fiat. You must engage, you must consult, you must, lobby, and so on and so forth. In places like America, lobby is established. It is a process for getting bills passed, of mobilizing people to support a particular policy and all of that. In Nigeria, here is a different thing entirely. If you say lobby, they will mistake that for bribery, and so on. So those are some of the things that we really need to come to understand.
So if I hear you correctly, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the process for me of electing leaders, whether at the political party level or at the national, level, is very important. Whether you're looking at having a consensus candidate or not, that process has to be inclusive.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
At the end of the day, no one feels disenfranchised.
I was just going to say to you, if I hear you correctly, playing politics right means that it actually is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It means that if you are thinking, for instance, I want to become the president of this country, you'd have started your journey maybe about 20 years ago, making sure that you are taking it one step at a time, if I hear you correctly. That's supposed to be the right way to play politics, right? In the ideal sense, you're supposed to take it one step at a time, making sure you are going to political meetings, different at ward levels, that you go on to state levels and all of that. But we see that most times it's not like that, and that's why there has to be some form of dirty play for political candidates to emerge, because they haven't gone through that due process, if I hear you correctly, right? I hope we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think money is.
I don't agree with that.
Why?
Because most of the time when you expect them to come from nothing, attending all these political rallies, parties, and doing all this, it means they're really not busy. So they're supposed to be doing different things in their different walks of life. Then you bring your experience to play. So if you're not bringing your experience to play, we're just going to keep rigmaroling around the same mountain. You understand what I'm saying?
I get you. But you can still be that professional, be that whatever you're doing.
And have time to start building all this for 20 years?
Because you understand the impact of not communicating with your people at that one-on-one level. But let me hear Livinus' thought. Do you agree with Manny?
Yeah. So this is the point. The entire process is organized in a way that it builds you, starting from the world down to the states and to the national. I'll give you an example. I've been in public health practice. Of course, you read my profile. I've been working. But I'm one of those who believe that we cannot leave politics just to anybody. I come with a wealth of experience. And the people with whom I served in the party were all working in different, places. So we all came together and we managed a party, produced a presidential candidate. Okay? So it doesn't stop you at all from participating in party politics from the ward to the highest level. If I live here in Abuja and I come from a particular ward, okay, and so I have a duty to participate in the politics of that ward, how else can you be a true leader if you don't participate in the politics of the world where you live? It's impossible. Politics is local. Politics is local. It begins from the ward to the very top. That's why if you're going to register for a political party, you are asked to go to the ward.
But Livinus, that one, I'm going to bring you, hold on, I'm going to bring you another day for that, because I totally disagree. I do not agree, because yes, I don't get it. I am from Edo State, right? Biologically, what's it called? Birth. I am Edo State. I was born and raised all my life in Kaduna State. Now I live in Lagos. Please, where should I go to go and register? It does not make any sense. I think we go to my. I'm married to Adamawa, so you see that my life is complicated. So where do I go to? So I do not believe in this transaction of you must go to your what's it called, ward. I don't believe in that. That thing should be scrapped. No. If we must play politics, guess what? Because the people that know me, where I make the most impact, are the people that I am living within the community. So why can I not go and vote where I'm staying?
It means you should
why can I be elected?
You should make time for community engagement. Go to Edo State, go to your ward, and speak with your people. We are comments.
Let's see.
Let me quickly to what you just said. Just a quick one. You see, why this is very important is this. There are some fundamentals that have not been cleared out in our constitution. The issue of residency and,
state of origin.
Nationality.
Yeah.
In the state of origin. Until that is cleared out, then you can play this game very well. But then, like I said, I live here in Abuja. I live in Guaripa, so we have a ward there. And I'm involved in the politics of the ward because I'm interested. Okay? Now, I have also taken interest in what goes on in my own place. So I have to go down to my place and create a root. Look, it's like a tree. Every tree has a root. It is the root that holds you firmly to the ground.
Okay.
So you need to go back to that place where you have your roots so that you can establish yourself. That's what I'm
Unfortunately,
you gotta go.
I'm not going nowhere.
You gotta go.
Change the constitution. Yeah, let's take comments quickly. Run out of time.
So this is talking about what's in the news. It says, "Hi ladies, Will Smith is a weak man. He is slapping a man who joked about his wife's bald hair, but shed tears for the young boy who had sex with his wife and sang about it. Chris Rock showed composure at the highest level." I agree to that line, that part. Will Smith shows how weak he was. His wife will be his downfall. He would be lucky if his career does not suffer. Mark my words, Jada will eventually divorce him. You can't force attraction.
Money, quickly.
Great ladies always with refined topic. What do you sing in the Tini song at the APC convention? I was very sad. The message in the song was awesome. The youth in Nigeria used to recycled bunch of politicians whenever they want to get to power. I will suggest the youth should take a different dimension and approach towards achieving their dreams. It's sad that the old men don't want to leave. Osa, your hairstyle looks like that of Karen Wheeler of Soul to Soul. Bobby Kennedy, Jalingo, Taraba.
Thank you so much. All right, good evening, my beautiful sisters. What are you saying? The main question we should ask ourselves is, are the youth ready to set aside politics for good governance? Now, the answer is no, because the two go hand in hand. The youth should wait for their own time and give way for the older and more experienced. This is my take for now. We do not want to go back to square one. Sister Uwa, you're welcome back to the show. We missed you. You always add spice to the show. God bless you greatly. And real good. My name is Daniel Ilo. Your regular waist fan. Thank you so much, Daniel. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but do you think we should give way to the old people? Livinus, is a yes or a no? Because we ran out of time.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Not at all. We have to be involved.
Absolutely.
The youths have to be involved.
Absolutely. We've had a fantastic show with you. We hope you come back again to help us out with this political conversation. We'll revisit that word matter.
I'm always available.
Thank you so much.
I'm always available.
Thank you so much, Livinus. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Elsie. We had a fantastic show. Now, before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media, like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Good governance never depends on law, but upon the personal qualities of those who govern. The machinery of government is always subordinate to the will of those who administer that machinery. The most important element of government, therefore, is the method of choosing leaders, and that's why Livinus and all the ladies are saying we need to get involved from the ward level. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring you another great conversation. Enjoy.